Magic and Mystery in Tibet by Alexandra David-Neel. If we now consider the case of a monk who, instead of placing himself under the spiritual guidance of a lama, who is a regular member of a monastery, ventures to solicit the teaching of a contemplative anchorite, Naljorpa, the training takes another aspect. Methods become strange, sometimes even cruel. We have seen it in the previous chapter. The trilogy, examination, meditation, understanding, takes a peculiar importance among the followers of the short path, and the intellectual activity of the disciple is exclusively directed towards these results. Sometimes the means that are used seem extravagant. Yet, when closely examined, one sees that the object aimed at is quite reasonable. It is also clear that the inventors of these curious methods perfectly understand the mind of their brethren in religion and have devised them accordingly. Padmasambhava is said to have described the stages of the mystic path in the following way. Number 1. To read a large number of books on various religions and philosophies, to listen to many learned doctors professing different doctrines, to experiment oneself with a number of methods. Number 2, to choose a doctrine among the many one has studied and discard the other ones, as the eagle carries off only one sheep from the flock. Number 3, to remain in a lowly condition, humble in one's demeanor, not seeking to be conspicuous or important in the eyes of the world, but behind apparent insignificance, to let one's mind soar high above all worldly power and glory. Number 4, to be indifferent to all, behaving like the dog or the pig that eat what chance brings them, not making any choice among things which one meets, abstaining from any effort to acquire or avoid anything, accepting with an equal indifference whatever comes, riches or poverty, praise or contempt, giving up the distinction between virtue and vice, honorable and shameful, good and evil, being neither afflicted nor repenting whatever one may have done, and on the other hand, never being elated or proud on account of what one has accomplished. Number 5, to consider with perfect equanimity and detachment the conflicting opinions and the various manifestations of the activity of beings, to understand that such is the nature of things, the inevitable mode of action of each entity, and to remain always serene, to look at the world as a man stands on the highest mountain of a country, looks out at the valleys and the lesser summits spread out below him. Number 6, it is said that the 6th stage cannot be described in words. It corresponds to the realization of the void, which, in Lamaist terminology, means the inexpressible reality. In spite of these programs, it is impossible to establish a regular gradation of the multifarious training exercises devised by Tibetan mystic anchorites. In practice, these various exercises are combined. Moreover, each Lama adopts a peculiar method, and it is even rare to see 2 disciples of the same master following exactly the same path. We must make up our minds to accept an apparent chaos, which is a natural result of different individual tendencies and aptitudes, which the gurus, adepts of the short path, refuse to crush. Liberty is the motto on the heights of the lands of the snow, but strangely enough, the disciple starts on that road of utter freedom, by the strictest obedience to his spiritual guide. However, the required submission is confined to the spiritual and psychic exercises and the way of living prescribed by the master. No dogmas are ever imposed. The disciple may believe, deny, or doubt anything according to his own feelings. I have heard a Lama say that the part of a master, adept of the short path, is to superintend a clearing. He must incite the novice to get rid himself of the beliefs, ideas, acquired habits, and innate tendencies which are part of his present mind and have been developed in the course of successive lives whose origin is lost in the night of time. On the other hand, the master must prepare his disciple to be on guard against accepting new beliefs, ideas, and habits as groundless and irrational as those which he shakes off. The discipline on the short path is to avoid imagining things. When imagination is prescribed in contemplative meditation, it is to demonstrate by that conscious creation of perceptions and sensations the illusory nature of those prescriptions and sensations which we accept as real, though they too rest on imagination, the only difference being that in their case the creation is unconsciously affected. The Tibetan reformer Tsongkhapa, let me spell his name here, Tsongkhapa. The Tibetan reformer Tsongkhapa defines meditation as the means of enabling oneself to reject all imaginative thoughts together with their seed. It is the uprooting of the present imaginative thoughts and the burning of their seed so that no fanciful ideas may arise in the future that constitutes the clearing which I have just mentioned. 2 exercises are especially prescribed by the adepts of the mystic path. The first consists in observing with great attention the workings of the mind without attempting to stop it. Seated in a quiet place, the disciple refrains as much as he can from consciously pointing his thoughts in a definite direction. He marks the spontaneous arising of ideas, memories, desires, etc., and considers how, superseded by new ones, they sink into the dark recesses of the mind. He watches also the subjective image, which, apparently unconnected with any thoughts or sensations, appears while his eyes are closed. Men, animals, landscapes, moving crowds, etc. During that exercise, he avoids making reflections about the spectacle which he beholds, looking passively at the continual, swift, flowing stream of thoughts and mental images that whirl, jostle, fight, and pass away. It is said that the disciple is about to gather the fruit of his practice when he loosens the firm footing he had kept till then in his quality of spectator. He too, so he must understand, is an actor on the tumultuous stage. His present introspection, all his acts and thoughts, and the very sum of them all, which he calls his self, are but ephemeral bubbles in a whirlpool, made of infinite quantity of bubbles, which congregate for a moment, separate, burst, and form again, following a giddy rhythm. The second exercise is intended to stop the roaming mind in order that one may concentrate it on a single object. Training, which often tends to develop a perfect concentration of mind, is generally deemed necessary for all students without distinction. As to observing the mind's activity, it is only recommended to the most intellectual disciples. Training the mind to one-pointedness is practiced in all Buddhist sects. In southern Buddhist countries, Ceylon, Siam, Burma, the apparatus called kasinas, Kasinas, which consists of clay discs variously colored, or a round surface covered by water, or a fire at which one gazes through a screen in which a round hole is pierced, are all used for this purpose. Any of these circles is stared at until it is seen as clearly when the eyes are shut as when they are open and actually looking at it. The process does not aim at producing a hypnotic state, as some Western scholars have said, but it accustoms one to concentrating the mind. The fact that the subjective image has become as vivid as the objective indicates, according to those who patronize that method, that one-pointedness has been reached. Tibetans consider the object chosen to train oneself to be of no importance. Whatever attracts and retains most easily the thoughts of the disciple should be preferred. There is a story well known in Tibetan religious world, which illustrates a successful result of this practice. A young man begs the spiritual guidance of a mystic anchorite. The latter